Oh, I have been recording. That's great.
Yeah, we have captured all of this.
So exciting. Here we go. Hello, everyone. What a whirlwind last few weeks this has been. Oh my goodness. Thank you always for joining us. My name is Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we're here all week, the podcast whose importance is a subject of some debate among noted constitutional scholars.
It's true. If Jefferson was around, he would be seriously questioning this show right now. Anyway,
right. The rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution do not include podcasting, not by name anyway.
Exactly. Is podcasting part of free speech? Do we have that argument, or do we just
believe it's filed under the pursuit of happiness?
Okay, great. I'm so happy. As you can see, for folks watching video, I have the child behind me, always vigilant, always watching. That would be little Grogu. Huge fan. Thanks, Star Wars. Really
It looks
love the
like
show.
he's watching the ceiling.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. It's great. James, wow, what a whirlwind. First of all,
it's time for the home ownership episodes of Here All Week.
Okay, great.
No, it's the new house episode, starting with number 100, where Kelly is broadcasting from the Red Room in her new home.
Yes, this is episode 100. We made it to 100 episodes, and yet we still remain friends. I am amazed at this milestone.
Well, you know what success does for a person, and luckily we haven't had to deal with any of that.
It's true. We are still humbled every single day with pennies in our bank account as we try to make it through. I am trying to get used to this new space. So I'm broadcasting, or I'm recording from a room that is multi-purpose. It's going to be a guest bedroom. It's going to be my working recording closet office. It's going to be my working from home office. It's got to be multifunctional.
And nothing says be our guest like walls of soundproofing.
Oh, yes. I am looking into the possibility of doing temporary post-on-pipe blanketing for the room, so that there will be like hooks up on the, near the top of the ceiling where I just thread blankets, over a pipe and just hang it that way. But I'm looking into that option.
The blankets do nothing. You need corrugated foam. You need the serious sound canceling. And I know the same thing. I do. My apartment in Vegas is echoey as all get out. But but sometimes I hang. At least I hang a blanket over some foam pillows. That's the best I can do down there.
No, we do the best we can do with what we got, but eventually it will morph into something where, yes, the guest bedroom will have sound absorbing foam, and they can be as freaky as they want because nobody will hear them. So I'm kind of offering that service to my more adventurous guests. So there you go. So anyway,
well, Kelly, it's time for our opening segment, Conversation Starters, sponsored this week by Numbers. In honor of our 100th episode, tonight's conversation starter will be 100 conversation starters from thecut.com. No, just kidding. Number one, and only one on our list, is what are your plans for this weekend? That's right, because I set this up for last week, where you and I had plans together for the weekend, and then and that didn't really happen. What are your plans for this weekend, Kelly?
James, so... If you don't know, if you're new to this show, my husband and I have recently purchased and moved into a new home, so my focus is there. We are currently living out of a lot of boxes right now. The primary bedroom and the primary bathroom haven't even gotten started, so we're shoved into like a little tiny bedroom with boxes surrounding us. So we've unpacked about as much as we can unpack, so we're just kind of in stasis. So this weekend, there is a little bit of light at the tunnel. A dear friend of mine, her partner is turning 50, so we will be attending that 50th birthday. Happy birthday, Michael, coming up. But then, no, the rest of the focus is just keeping the dogs entertained because they're little chewy monsters right now because their world has changed, and trying to find people to come and pick up our empty boxes and packing paper. So I've delivered, 2 huge piles to people, which is great. So there's always a need for that. James, how about you?
Well, my plans for this weekend are my plans for last weekend, because this is from last week. But it turns out, Kelly, that you and I are both headed out to the Brass Screw Consortium a steampunk weekend in Port Townsend, Washington, where weather permitting, we will wear brown and talk about gears. We were going to shoot an out and about over there, but
Yeah.
and I, of course, without your aid and assistance, I decided to be super lazy and just spent the weekend hanging out and wearing brown and watching people do the steampunk thing. Janice and the Dozens, please tell us what you are doing this weekend or what your plans might have been for last weekend. We hope it includes joining our Baker's Dozen on Patreon, where you can get early access to our videos, special content, and so much more, we guess, here all week on Patreon. The link is in the thing.
Did you have a good time at the Brass Consortium?
I was very laid back for me. I had no responsibilities, and I think I managed to give the organizer a moment of joy, or so he later reported. He was running around, of course, organizing and
Of
busy,
course.
busy. And
Yes.
I'm like, he was like, I'm going to run home and change and dress down because I want to, you know, I have 5 minutes and I'm going to run back to my house and change outfits. And I'm like, you don't have time for that. Just hang out here in the bar and let's shoot pool for 4.5 minutes before you have to be back on stage. He's like, okay, we'll play pool for 4.5 minutes. And he later was like, that was the most relaxing 4.5 minutes of my whole weekend.
I don't know why he felt he had to go change. It wasn't the Oscars, but, you know, I understand.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, you know, everyone dresses up for these things, and I guess he was just so exhausted by Saturday night that he was like, I would rather be wearing something more comfortable. And I was just like, I guess, unbutton your jacket. You're fine. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
And he was fine, and everything was fine. There was a fashion show. There were concerts. Abney Park played on Saturday night. We shopped in a small but entertaining dealer's hall. Port Townsend itself is a frozen in time, a Victorian port town out on the peninsula, which was so sure it was going to be Seattle, 150 years ago or whenever they built this place. They had trouble running a rail line up there. You know, there's so many channels to cross. And eventually they were like, you know where the rail is going to end? It's going to end in Seattle, and that's where the port's going to be, and that's going to be the big city. So this place is just adorable and a great place to have a bed and breakfast, which is what Nathan does most of the time, and a steampunk convention, which happens on the last cool weekend of the summer. It didn't rain on us. It threatened, but it didn't, and it was not so hot. We could all be in our steampunk multi-layer finery and not
Be
not
uncomfortable.
sweating to death. Yeah, It
Yep.
was pretty good weather for that.
Yeah, it has been an unseasonably cool start to the summer here. I mean, we're talking, middle to upper 60s, if that, and lots of rain. These last 2 months have been far rainier than they have ever recorded. We're almost at 4 inches per each month, which is unheard
And
of.
meanwhile, on the other side of the mountains and proceeding all the way to Boston, the rest of the United States is hot as hell.
Yeah, they're blazing over there. But here it is cool, it is misty, and the Marysville Strawberry Festival, which Marysville is just a hop, skip, and a jump from now where I live, they have a shortage of strawberries due to the weather. What? But yet the festival still continues in the spirit of strawberries.
I think George Miller made a series of movies about that. Just a future apocalypse where climate change has slightly reduced the number of available strawberries, and all hell breaks loose. People they have to wear shoulder pads, and they set up these sort of mining colonies in the desert and race each other to death. It's
Gasoline.
We're only a few steps away from that. There'll be an apple shortage, followed by nuclear holocaust, followed by some really fascinating driving effects.
There's already a pepper shortage in Sriracha. It had to stop production. So there you go. The Sriracha sauce. You guys better start buying your bottles of Sriracha because production has stopped and it's going to slow down as far as being available
now
in the
there's going to
stores.
be a rush on the grocery store.
Riot,
and
dogs and
an
cats
artificial
living
inflation
together.
of the price. Yeah,
Mass
well.
hysteria. Speaking of shortages, in Florida, there is no shortage of the Burmese python.
Yeah.
James, I want you to get together and get ready to register because registration is now open for the 2022 Florida Python Challenge. Removal competition begins August 5th. So the Burmese python had been introduced into the Everglades. It is wreaking havoc on the food chain that's there. And so python removal competition happens every year from August 5 to 14.
I'm glad it's a hunting challenge because honestly, Florida Bermuda Python Challenge considering what we know about human nature and the kind of websites I often visit, could mean anything.
It could be anything.
I'm
Absolutely.
glad it's just a hunting contest.
It is. Competitors can work in teams, but all participants must register individually. Pythons can only be submitted under one participant's name.
You can't trick me. There are no rules for python hunting. You hunt those pythons however you want to.
No. What they do is they sign up for registration. They are required to watch a 30-minute video on how to stalk, catch,
Featuring an animated python. I'm Mr. Python.
and humanely dispose of the python. And so there are many categories. There's money that can be won. But they haven't made it so much money because the problem in India years ago when the British Empire was in with all the cobra problems?
Yeah, people would breed them so they could turn them in.
Right, because they were making a shit ton of money on those cobras. So they're keeping the prize packages here low so that incentive isn't there. So
Yes. Perverse incentives are the death knell of many well-meaning laws.
It's true. It's true. So this particular competition for the novice and the professional hunter, the top prize, first prize, is $2,500 for the most pythons brought in. Then there's the second prize for the novice and the hunter that for the longest python is $1,500.
Yeah.
So there you go. So if you're looking for a little extra cash, and the thing that kills me too is that anyone under 18 is allowed to accompany someone as long as they're with a registered participant. So come on down, bring the kids. It's fun. Bring the kids.
I have my Python learner's permit, and I will be stalking the Everglades, looking for the python farmers. I think those prices are set perfectly so that it's not to encourage breeders, because you have to pay just enough in the prize money so it's not affordable to raise the pythons and even set up elaborate python stretching machines, because those things cost more than $1,500.
More than $1,500. But I mean, the thing is, if they were saying, you get, $500 for every python you bring in, well, then that would just open the floodgates as far as for breeders just to release it. So no. So yeah, that was the whole situation in India back in the British Empire days, because it was cobra breeders, I believe is what it was. And then when they stopped paying for them, what did the cobra breeders do? They just released them out in the wild again. Same
Yay!
problem. Same problem.
Don't need these cobras anymore.
I'm done. Oh, also, animals. Going into the world of animals and fighting and whatever, this has really nothing to do with it. The CDC has new interesting sex advice for monkeypox.
Wait, there's a lot of open questions in that. Tell me more, Kelly.
Well,
speaking of cobras.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, their new document entitled Social Gatherings, Safer Sex, and Monkeypox includes a one piece of sexy time wardrobe advice under its How Can a Person Lower Their Risk During Sex section. And that's...
Avoid working with organ grinders.
And that's consider having sex with your clothes on, or covering areas where rash or sores are present, reducing as much skin-to-skin contact as possible. So, honey, I want you to get that big baggy sweatshirt out that you had in college with a couple of tears and stains on it. And I think I'm going to wear my hip waders.
Cover your rash has been good advice since the beginning of sex.
For centuries.
When the first multicellular organisms thought, what if we mixed up a little? They thought to themselves, I would like to, but first I'm going to cover this rash.
Well, let me tell you, on this little thing I'm looking at where they issue something really strange, there's like little pictures, okay? It says, try virtual sex. Okay, great. We can think about it and do it. Masturbate 6 feet apart.
6 feet apart. Hold on to this piece of string. Keep the string taut. Keep tension on the string. Whatever you're doing with your left hand, keep tension on the string. And if you're going to have an orgy, just do like the sailors do. Just have a knotted rope with 6 feet between each knot. And everyone just holds on to one of the knots and stands as far apart as they can.
So also along with that is avoid kissing, wash afterwards,
Many of these advices are advices I already knew. Yes, always wash afterwards. If you're in a 6-foot orgy with a dozen greasy sailors, you want to wash before, after,
And after.
during.
Yeah.
You want to be pretty much constantly awash.
You do. You want to be just doused in cleaning solution. But yes, as always, kids, before going out and doing anything with anyone, cover your rash.
Yes. We invited the sailors over for an orgy, and they were just semen all over the house.
Oh, James. Oh, God. I'm 14.
Yes.
All right. With that vision in your head, we're going to take a break. Woo! Okay. The 100th episode of Here All Week is brought to you by Numbers.
Hey, Kelly, what are 5 and 7?
I don't know. Is it 12?
Wrong. 12 is what 5 and 7 is. What 5 and 7 are is numbers. Yes, numbers, those funky little buttons along the top of your keyboard.
You mean the ones that start with F? Those buttons always crash my computer.
Nope. Numbers is just the row below that. 10 little digits that help scientists add, subtract, divide, and conquer.
Numbers, huh? How do they work?
Professional numberologists know that numbers help us figure out things. Here's an example. Suppose you had a flock of sheep.
Cool. I like sheep. How many sheep do I have?
Good question. And numbers has the answers. Let me try that again.
Okay.
Good question. And numbers has the answers.
Can I use numbers to solve all of life's mysteries?
A large number of mysteries, yeah, the ones about numbers.
Lol. So how many numbers are there?
Nobody knows. Scientists are discovering more of them all the time.
Wow, numbers sound pretty great. What else can they do?
They can solve puzzles like this. If 21 goats can eat as much as 15 cows, then how many cows can eat as much as 35 goats?
I don't know. None? Cows don't eat goats.
I thought so too, Kelly, but the answer is 25.
No kidding. So when I ask my high school bestie, how old are your kids now? And she says they are 5 and 11. But, they keep going along and getting older and...
Basic Numbers says her kids are 16, but in this case, Numbers is wrong.
Wow, numbers is confusing.
I'll say, did you know that 2% is 100% more than 1, but that 1 is only 50% less than 2?
Weird. Where do the extra percents go?
Nobody knows. Isn't that great?
So, if numbers are so great, why are they so complicated?
Good question. Scientists will tell you that it's because there are so many of them.
But that's just science. What does your gut tell you?
Good question. Over time, I think numbers have lost all meaning, and now they are just opinions like everything else.
I know. Why else would a vote in California be worth 1/3 of a vote in Wyoming?
Right? And why else would people think a 1/3 pounder at A&W is smaller than a 1/4 pounder at McDonald's?
Oh, fractions. Those little devils.
Yes, just remember the useful phrase, if it's small on the bottom, be glad you got 'em. If it's small on the top, it's time to stop.
Wow. I can't think of a single time when I would find that useful.
That's numbers for you. Yes, numbers, the funky little symbols at the top of your keyboard.
Just above the letters, but below the crashy buttons.
Start using numbers today. They can do everything.
They even do steaks.
Numbers congratulates Here All Week on their 100th episode. That's 100% more than 50, but only 50% less than 200. See you next time with Numbers.
Numbers, you're so complicated.
I know. They don't have to be. They could be simple, but they're just all over the place.
They're such trouble. James, are you planning a trip to Boston anytime soon?
I am not planning a trip to Boston anytime soon. Should I change my plans? Should I include Boston on my itinerary?
I think you should, because the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority hopes with a new program to tackle public urination in system elevators with technology.
I have never been tempted to tackle public urination. When I see someone urinating publicly, my first and last instinct do not include tackling
them. So the MTBA, which serves Boston and the surrounding area, is launching a pilot program this summer in which urine detection sensors will be placed in 4 downtown elevators. The sensors alert transit ambassadors who can dispatch a cleaning crew.
What a job.
The sensors, which are going to be on the ceiling of an elevator, have an attached fan, which allows them to suck in air and basically smell what is present.
That's fantastic. So what are you? I'm a transit ambassador. Oh, that sounds really good. What does that entail? Well, basically when the elevator smells piss, I go down and clean it up.
Wow.
So they have transit ambassadors in Seattle too. The last time I took the train to the airport, there were a couple people there in like reflective vests to help people buy train tickets. Like, do you need any help with that? Let me help you with your credit card, whatever. Give you some advice, tell you what buttons to hit. Because of course, there's nothing more frustrating than being in an extremely short line that still isn't moving while the train might arrive at any moment. And I'm glad there's someone there to be like, to do the job that I restrain myself from doing, which is to help them buy their damn ticket.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. But I suppose those people might also be in charge of the urine smell. I don't know.
I don't know. I just love the fact that this little poor little sensor's life is just going to be smelling bad smells. So what happens after a night of furious Taco Bell consumption?
Right. There could be a lot of false positives. I mean,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Met some people who, while not currently publicly urinating, might still trigger the sensor.
Still triggered the sensor. We've been to enough conventions to know this, James.
I think, though, that if I were programming a robot to smell urine for its whole life, I wouldn't make that a happy experience. I think it would be delighted every time it gets to say, "Ooh,
it's like a drug smell, like a drug sniffing dog." So,
right.
From what
it just goes off now and then because it hopes to get a treat.
Ooh, I get a treat. So about a decade ago, according to this article, the Metropolitan Transit Authority over the MBTA launched a pilot program that, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, triggered strobe lights, alarms, and alerts to police when urine was detected in an elevator. So basically, it became a disco at that point about 10 years ago.
Until a generation of traumatized 6-year-olds grew up, entered public service, and said there must be a better way.
There must be a better way. So now urine sniffing elevator robots are going. So James, you and I should go and test this.
I was going to say, how can we make these robots happy?
You and I should go and test this. I know that I have it's not a sickness, it's not an illness, but I have what's called urge incontinence. And so when I have the urge, I have to go. So I am willing to chug that 1.5 quart of water and just ride that elevator
until it
happens. And I invite you to do the same.
It'll be our Boston nature tour.
And we can bond even deeper as friends.
It's time for an episode of Here All Week from the elevators at the Boston Train Center, where Kelly and I have been drinking Powerades for the last 3.5 hours. And I don't know if it's just because someone's watching or because I'm nervous or maybe I'm just dehydrated from the flight, but I still can't seem to set off these sensors.
People in these elevators getting on and off would look at us. Are you getting off of this floor? No, I'm just riding the elevator. I'm just enjoying the elevator.
I'm helping test.
I'm testing.
I'm
testing
robots.
sensors. I'm testing sensors today. Oh my gosh, James. Oh my gosh. Also, as far as for folks who are planning travel this summer, I had a coworker of mine who had to cancel his trip because this happened, but all the flooding that was happening in Yellowstone.
Oh my God, I saw video of that.
Yeah, it was really incredible with the damage. So the park said it's going to spend about $50 million on repairs that would restore about 80% of the park within the next 2 weeks. So they're opening.
If you haven't seen the video, folks listening at home, the video is quite amazing. I know the North Road in Yellowstone, I know fairly well because I had to go down it very slowly one year when we were being blocked by a herd of bison. So first we're going really slow and I don't know why, and it's like traffic is stupid. And then we start catching up with the herd and we're like, oh, cool, buffalo. And then we're in the herd, like bison, like running past the car, and we're terrified that we're going to get, eaten or mauled or whatever it is that bison do to automobiles. And so I'm intimately familiar with that road, and recently saw the video, drone footage of the river basically replacing the road, just washout after washout after washout, all the way down the road, just wrecked. And as you say, millions of dollars of damage and years to repair.
Yep. So they basically they're fast tracking that money there to get the repair work done to about 80% of the park. But it's going to reopen. What do they say to a limited number? I don't know what that means, but to a limited number of visitors this Wednesday coming up.
One
Limited
visitor.
number.
One is a limited
and
number
I believe,
of visitors.
I believe they're going to test the new elevators at Yellowstone. That one visitor.
When a buffalo or bear urinates within 30 feet of the road, sirens go off and the sprinklers come on.
Disco lights, the sprinklers. Yeah.
Another piece of the road washes out.
Yeah. So, folks, as always, we thank you for joining us on this crazy, crazy ride we like to call Hero Week. Let's see, like and subscribe. Please become a Patreon member. You can join at a couple of different tier levels, but you would become one of our Baker's Dozen, and we do appreciate that. Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your family. Be kind to your friends. Be kind to your neighbors. Be kind to your community, because we are all going through it. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name's Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we're here all week.